Chosen one, you did not meet the C person by accident. Every encounter in your life is scripted by divine intelligence, and this connection was placed with precision. Before you were born, God etched paths, pauses, and people into your blueprint to shape your awakening. The C person is not here to replace your purpose, but to reveal it. Through alignment, resistance, lessons, and separation, they activate something ancient within you. What felt confusing was instructional. What felt painful was purposeful. Today, you are being invited to see clearly, not emotionally, but spiritually. When you understand their role, you reclaim your power and step fully into destiny. Chosen one, the C person was never meant to be the final stop on your journey, and that truth is what frees you now. They arrived as a spark, not a shelter. God sent them to activate something dormant inside you, something that comfort and familiarity could never awaken. When they entered your life, things began to move faster than you were ready for. Emotions intensified, questions surfaced, and your inner world grew louder. This was not chaos, it was acceleration. A catalyst does not stay forever, because its purpose is motion, not permanence. The moment they touched your life, the divine clock sped up. You may have believed they were your destination because of how deeply they affected you. The connection felt charged, almost magnetic, as if fate itself leaned in closer. But that intensity was not a promise of longevity. It was proof of assignment. God uses catalysts to disturb comfort zones and crack open sealed chambers of the soul. The C person challenged your sense of self, your boundaries, and your understanding of love, worth, and purpose. They brought you face to face with parts of yourself you had avoided or suppressed. This confrontation was necessary because destiny cannot be built on avoidance. Their role was to expose, not to stay. Every conversation, conflict, and emotional high or low served as spiritual stimulation. They triggered growth spurts that solitude could not achieve. Through them, you learned what you tolerate, what you desire, and what you must release. You learned how deeply you feel and how easily you give. You learned where you abandon yourself and where you need to stand firm. These lessons were the real gift. Even if they were wrapped in confusion or pain, God often sends catalysts disguised as answers to our prayers. You asked for clarity, strength, awakening, and alignment, but the process required disruption. The C person disrupted your emotional patterns and forced you to confront illusions. They showed you that intensity is not the same as alignment, and attachment is not the same as purpose. Their presence illuminated the difference between what feels familiar and what is truly meant for you. That realization is priceless. When a catalyst completes its function, it either exits or loses its emotional charge. This can feel like loss, abandonment, or failure if you misunderstand the assignment. But spiritually, it is completion. The pain you felt was not because they left, but because you outgrew the version of yourself that needed them. Growth always demands a shedding. The H was the sound of an old identity dissolving. You were not meant to carry them into the next chapter, because the next chapter requires a stronger, clearer version of you. The C person activated your courage, your discernment, and your self-awareness. They pushed you toward your higher self by showing you what no longer fits. Their departure, whether physical or emotional, was the final activation. It forced you to stand alone in your power, no longer leaning on external validation. God's design is precise. Nothing about that connection was wasted. Even the confusion had purpose. Even the heartbreak carried wisdom. The catalyst arrives, ignites transformation, and steps aside so you can step forward. This is how destiny protects itself. If they had stayed, you might have settled. If they had softened, you might have compromised your calling. Instead, their intensity ensured movement. Now, when you look back, you are meant to see them clearly, not emotionally. Gratitude replaces longing. Understanding replaces attachment. You recognize that they were a doorway, not the destination. A divine interruption that redirected your path toward something greater. You do not chase a catalyst. You integrate the lesson. And once the lesson is integrated, you walk forward unburdened, awakened, and aligned with the blueprint God wrote long before you ever met them. Chosen one, the person did not enter your life to comfort you. They came to reveal you to yourself. God often uses people as mirrors, reflecting back the parts of us we cannot yet see clearly. When this person appeared, they didn't create new wounds, they illuminated existing ones. The emotions they stirred, the reactions they provoked, and the patterns they exposed were already within you, waiting to be acknowledged. This is not blame, and it is not shame. It is divine awareness. You were ready to see the truth, and God sent a mirror strong enough to reflect it. Through the person, you saw where you still sought validation, where you feared abandonment, and where you confused intensity with intimacy. Their presence highlighted your triggers, not to weaken you, but to strengthen you. Every moment of emotional discomfort was an invitation to ask deeper questions about yourself. Why did certain words affect you so deeply? Why did silence feel threatening? Why did inconsistency feel familiar? These questions were the keys to healing, long-standing patterns that could not be ignored any longer. The mirror effect can feel painful because truth often disrupts identity. You may have believed you were fully healed, fully grounded, or fully aligned until this connection challenged that belief. God allows this because hidden wounds cannot be healed. The person reflected your unhealed truths through their actions, their distance, or their inability to meet you where you stood. What you perceived as their shortcomings were actually revelations of where you still needed self-anchoring. This mirroring was not one-sided. Often, the dynamic feels intense because both individuals are reflecting something unresolved in each other. But your responsibility was never to fix them. Your responsibility was to observe yourself. The moment you stopped asking why they behaved the way they did and started asking why you responded the way you did, the lesson began to unlock. Awareness shifted the power back into your hands. God's mirrors are temporary because once you see clearly, you no longer need reflection. Patterns repeat until they are recognized. The person helped you recognize cycles you may have carried from childhood. past relationships, or even ancestral conditioning. You began to notice familiar emotional rhythms playing out again. This was not coincidence. This was the final call to break the loop. Healing does not always look peaceful at first. Sometimes it looks like emotional exhaustion, confusion, or withdrawal. These are signs that the soul is recalibrating. The mirror forced you to slow down, to sit with uncomfortable truths, and to rebuild your sense of self from the inside out. You learned that your worth is not dependent on someone choosing you, staying, or understanding you. It is inherent, stable, and divinely assigned. As healing deepened, the reflection changed. What once triggered you began to lose its grip. The same behaviors no longer provoked the same emotional response. This is how you know the mirror has served its purpose. When the lesson integrates, the emotional charge dissolves. The person either shifts in importance or exits entirely because the version of you they mirrored no longer exists. This is not loss, this is liberation. You are no longer reacting from wounds, but responding from wisdom. God never exposes wounds to harm you, only to heal you. The mirror breaks the moment you accept responsibility for your inner world and reclaim your authority over it. You graduate from reflection into embodiment. Now, instead of seeing the person as someone who hurt you or confused you, you are meant to see them as a messenger of truth. They showed you where you were fragmented so you could become whole. They revealed what needed healing so your destiny would not be delayed by unaddressed pain. Once the truth is integrated, the mirror fades and you walk forward clearer, steadier, and aligned with the version of yourself God always intended you to become. Chosen one, the resistance you experienced with the person was not a mistake, and it was not a punishment. It was divine intervention in motion. God often redirects destiny not through open doors, but through closed ones. When something feels blocked, confusing, or consistently misaligned, it is not always because you are doing something wrong. Sometimes it is because you are being protected from a path that would limit your calling. The resistance you felt was a signal, not a setback. At first, resistance can feel personal. Delays feel like rejection. Silence feels like abandonment. Confusion feels like failure. But spiritually, resistance is one of God's most precise tools. It forces you to pause, reflect, and re-evaluate what you are attaching your future to. With the person, the friction existed because the timeline you were leaning toward was not the one aligned with your highest purpose. If everything had flowed easily, you might have settled into something comfortable but constricting. God redirects through discomfort, because comfort rarely produces discernment. The emotional push and pull you experienced sharpened your intuition. You began to sense when something was off, even if you couldn't logically explain it. Your spirit was learning to recognize misalignment before it became entrapment. This is how discernment is trained. Resistance teaches you to trust inner knowing over emotional attachment. The confusion surrounding the connection was intentional. When clarity is delayed, it prevents premature commitment. God knew that commitment at that stage would have anchored you to a version of yourself that was still evolving. The uncertainty created space for growth. It pushed you inward instead of outward. Instead of chasing answers from the see person, you were guided to seek answers within yourself and within God. That inward turn was the redirection. What felt like rejection was actually removal. God removed access not because you were unworthy, but because the connection could not carry you where you were being called to go. Some paths look appealing, but cannot sustain your expansion. Resistance ensures you do not confuse familiarity with destiny. The see person represented a direction that felt intense, but intensity alone is not confirmation. Through resistance, your boundaries were forged. You learned when to speak, when to step back, and when to let go. You learned that clarity does not come from forcing outcomes, but from honoring inner signals. Each moment you chose self-respect over emotional pursuit. You aligned more closely with your true path. Resistance trained you to stop negotiating your worth for potential. God's redirection often feels like loss because the ego resists change. But spiritually, redirection is mercy. The friction you encountered prevented long-term pain, stagnation, or compromise. The discomfort was temporary, but the protection was permanent. Once the redirection was complete, peace slowly replaced urgency. The need to force outcomes faded. This shift was the sign that your soul had realigned. When you look back now, you can see how the resistance saved you time, energy, and emotional depletion. What once felt confusing now feels clear. What once felt heavy now feels distant. This clarity did not come from explanation, it came from distance. God removed you from the situation so you could see it without emotional distortion. The see person was part of the redirection, not the destination. Their role was to guide you away from a path that would have required you to shrink or compromise. Resistance was the divine course correction that ensured you stayed aligned with your calling. You were not being denied love, connection, or fulfillment. You were being redirected toward a timeline that could hold your expansion. Chosen one, when God redirects you, it is always forward, even when it feels like a step back. The resistance you faced refined your discernment, strengthened your boundaries, and clarified your priorities. Because of it, you now walk with greater wisdom, patience, and trust. You no longer fear closed doors, because you understand they are often the clearest signs that God is guiding you toward something far greater than you initially imagined. Chosen one, there comes a moment when the lesson completes and the soul quietly graduates. This stage does not arrive with noise or drama, but with a deep inner stillness. The see person no longer holds the same emotional weight, and that shift is your confirmation. What once consumed your thoughts now feels neutral. What once stirred longing now inspires understanding. This is not indifference born of suppression. It is peace born of integration. You have absorbed the wisdom, and the experience has fulfilled its divine purpose. Spiritual graduation happens when you embody the lesson rather than seek it. You no longer need external triggers to remind you of your worth, your boundaries, or your intuition. You carry the knowledge within you. The see person's role diminishes because the version of you they interacted with no longer exists. Growth changes frequency, and when frequencies shift, alignment naturally rearranges. At this stage, attachment dissolves without effort. You do not force detachment, it happens organically. The urge to revisit the past fades, because the past no longer defines you. You understand that not every meaningful connection is meant to continue. Some are meant to awaken you, prepare you, and then release you forward. This realization brings gratitude instead of grief. Graduation also brings discernment. You recognize patterns before they fully form. You sense misalignment early, without needing emotional chaos to alert you. This clarity is the reward for facing the discomfort instead of avoiding it. You learn to listen to your intuition, even when emotions tried to override it. Now decisions feel cleaner, quieter, and more aligned. As the C person fades in significance, something else emerges: self-trust. You trust your timing. You trust your instincts. You trust God's orchestration, even when it unfolds through uncertainty. This trust is the foundation of alignment. You no longer chase what is unclear or inconsistent. You move toward what feels stable, mutual, and expansive. Graduation does not mean forgetting, it means integrating. You can honor the role that C person played without reopening the door. You can acknowledge the growth without revisiting the wound. This is emotional maturity and spiritual authority. You no longer seek closure from people, you create it within yourself. Alignment brings ease, but not complacency. You are more aware, more present, and more intentional. Relationships feel different now because you are different. You attract experiences that match your healed state. You no longer entertain dynamics that rely on confusion, imbalance, or emotional unpredictability. Your standards are not walls, they are filters. God's blueprint always moves toward expansion. Graduation is proof that you trusted the process, even when it was uncomfortable. You allowed the lesson to change you instead of hardening you. This openness is why alignment follows. When the soul completes one lesson, it becomes ready for the next level of purpose. At this point, gratitude becomes natural. You can thank the C person without resentment or longing. You see them as a chapter, not a conclusion. Their presence served its function, and their exit made room for what is next. Nothing was wasted. Every emotion refined you. Every challenge strengthened you. Chosen one. This is the moment you step forward lighter, clearer, and more aligned. You do not carry the past, you carry its wisdom. The blueprint continues to unfold, not through force, but through flow. You are no longer learning who you are through pain, but expressing who you are through alignment. This is graduation. This is integration. This is the quiet power of becoming exactly who God always intended you to be.